to our bylaw regarding all the measures we've taken with respect to masks and sanitation and signage. We will also be passing some town planning items. So I have with me today Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Sidney Ben-Isri, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Stephen Erdely, and we also have the City Manager, Tanya Abramovich, Co-City Manager, Jonathan Schechter, Associate City Manager, Nadia DeFuria. We have our City Clerk, Jason Prevost, and in Communications, our Director, Darrell Levine. So in order to start the meeting, are there any questions? Maître Prevost, our City Clerk, do we have any questions?
No, Mr. Mayor, there were no questions that were sent in.
Okay. Well, we did have questions on these items at the last meeting on Thursday, so I guess we answered them to hopefully everybody's satisfaction. The purpose of this amendment, and I'll repeat more or less what I said last Thursday, but in a more brief fashion, is to keep into effect those parts of our bylaw that are not covered by provincial law. But we are not going to continue to have in our bylaw what would be redundant and is already covered by the provincial law, which came out after ours, but is still in effect. So enforcement of those rules are by the police, and the fines are higher, but the rules are very similar. Items that are not covered in that bylaw will be in our bylaw 2557, which is being amended, 25571. And that will include signage for condos, the requirement for hand sanitizing dispensers near all entrances and elevators, recommendation to wear masks when physical distancing is not possible, as well as for commerce, there is still the requirement to provide, if you haven't already, which most of our businesses have, the attestation that you're following the program, and any other measures that are different from the province. So I'm going to ask Councillor Sabag to move the item number 2, which is bylaw 25571, amending bylaw 2557. But first, the City Clerk, Jason Prevost, wants to explain exactly what has been changed since our last meeting. So Maître Prevost.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, I just want to mention one thing before we proceed to, with the adoption of the bylaw. So there was a small clerical change in terms of the language at Article 7 of the bylaw that was tabled at the last council meeting. So I just want to mention that there's a small change at Article 7 with the final bylaw that's going to be adopted tonight. Article 7, the essence of the bylaw remains the same. So it's just purely clerical and purely for language purposes. And Article 7 deals with the coming into force of the bylaw. So it's just a small clerical change. Thank
you. Okay, Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 2557-1, entitled Bylaw 2557-1, amending Bylaw 2557, entitled Bylaw 2557, instituting temporary safety measures related to the COVID-19 virus on the territory of the City of Côte Saint-Luc, in order to amend certain sections pursuant to the adoption of the Provincial Decree 810-2020 as follows. And the articles are do I read the articles too, or are we good with the articles?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
It's necessary.
All right, so.
Moved by Councillor Sabag then, and seconded by Councillor Torgman, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. So thank you for that. And now our bylaw is in effect, and will continue to help us during the pandemic. And in addition to the bylaw, we have the right as a city to have rules and regulations with respect to our programs and our facilities. So depending on where we are in the wave, we will adapt our rules for various programs, such as sports programs or use of our aquatic center or use of our library, etc. And those rules can be strengthened or loosened up depending on how things go. And that gives us flexibility to adapt with the times based on the recommendations from health authorities. Okay, so now that that is done, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program. Councillor Burku.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Programs received July 28th, 2020, option number 2, showing elevation replacement of stucco and brick finish by a new stone finish on the front facade of an existing single-family detached dwelling on lot 156-1348 at 6803 Korjak for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of August 18th, 2020, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
Well, this is simply to allow the owner to change the masonry with masonry blocks and to basically, renovate the facade of his property.
Do you have any pictures to put on the screen?
I am not the one to do this because then I'm going to lose track, I think. If you want me to try.
I think Stephen's going to do it. Thank you,
Okay,
Stephen.
but
Thank you,
it's got to
Councillor
be-
Early. Councillor
Yeah,
Early, thank you very much.
It's got to be the right option. That's the issue. So I'm just looking. You'll find it on page.
I believe it was option 3, this one.
You'll find it on page 15 of the digital version of the agenda. That should be right. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that was moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to item number B, 611 Smart. Councillor Burku.
Okay, so for this one, if Councillor Erdely is posting it, I will tell him it should be the perspective, which he can find on page, coming up, page 27 and 28 of the digital version. So there we go. Well, we're all in digital. There's no more paper versions. We're all digital. Okay, so be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received July 24th, 2020, showing the modification to an approved second-story addition to an existing semi-detached single-family dwelling on lot 1290582 at 611 Smart Avenue and prepared by Mr. M. Finkelstein, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of August 18th, 2020, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Yes, so I just wanted to note that we are approving the modification to second-story addition on a semi-detached dwelling, which originally we had some issue with because the owners are now wanting to expand their properties, and we understand this, but this is an example of how to integrate an addition into their property so it's not overwhelming the single family home that was there before, and not overwhelming also the home, which is semi-detached. It looks very much like it was part of the original construction. So that's why we're approving this proposal. It's a good example of how to do an extension.
Thank you, Councillor Burku. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Erdely? No? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So it's carried unanimously. We move to 5717 Smart. Councillor Burku.
Yeah, I'm coming up in a second. Let me see. So be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program received July 24th, 2020, showing the modification. No, I'm sorry. I'm still on 611 Smart for some reason. Okay, apologize for that. Okay, now I've moved on to 5717 Smart. Be it resolved, the site planning and architectural integration program received August 5th, 2020, showing elevation and replacement of the existing stone and brick finish by a new stone finish on the front facade of an existing single-family detached dwelling on lot 105-2710 at 5717 Smart, and prepared for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting, be approved subject to the proposed color of the roof not be of a lighter color, charcoal or gray, in order to better integrate with the area, according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Berkoup, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So we can see, I don't know if Councillor Erdely has posted the picture. So the next one is the perspective. If you would move on to the, I don't know if he's posted it. Did you post it? No?
Councillor Kajowski,
Just so everyone understands who's watching, that this is approved subject to the conditions in the bylaw, that they should lighten the color of the roof.
Correct.
A black roof here, so just to make that comment.
Right. That was a condition that I mentioned, yes. Okay.
all right. So any further discussion? So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So that's carried unanimously, and that's why we have no other items on this agenda. I will call for adjournment, as it's a special meeting and there's no second question period. So who would like to call for adjournment?
So
Moved
moved.
by.
Mr. Mayor. So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Cohen. All in favor?